Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the joint meeting for Timely Logistics with the Finance Committee and the Board of Selectmen for October 15, 2020. Open the meeting tonight at 7:01 p.m. As a preliminary matter, I am going to read a few items prior to starting off the meeting. So just to identify myself, I'm Peter Carlson, will be the chair for the Select Board. With me tonight also is Mr. Haddad, who will be chair of the Finance Committee. Just to recall that members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative and state your member's name and say that you're present, please, when I call your name. Select board members, Mr. Austin.
Present.
Ms. Roy,
Present.
Mr. Prisby,
You have to unmute, Ed.
Ed, you're muted.
Mr. Prisby, can you unmute?
He's phoning us.
Can't hear you, Ed.
We still can't hear you, Mr. I see you waving. I got you.
I kind of like the
but I
fact
need
that he
to-
has his schoolwork but behind him.
Yes.
You kidding me? This is legal briefs for tomorrow. Can you talk yet, Ed? I just want to make sure that we can hear you. Can't. I know we can't hear you. This is odd.
Yeah, Ed, your microphone's not working.
Ed, I'm going to come back to you. Thank you. I'm going to go down the list. For staff members here present, Mr. Terenzini,
President,
town administrator, and from the clerk's office, do we have Mr. Cook?
We do not this evening, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. We have moderator and deputy moderator here. Mr. Conker, are you present?
Present.
Thank you. And Mr. Trahan.
You're muted, Roger.
Sorry about that, present.
Thank you. For finance committee members, I have the chair, Mr. Haddad,
present,
Ms. Robbins,
Sue Robbins here.
Mr. Kusher,
Kusher here.
Mr. Smith,
Barry Smith here.
Ms. McHugh.
Here.
Mr. Jefferson,
Present.
Ms. Hool,
Irene Hool here.
Mr. Swenson,
Swenson here.
Mr. Shinoy.
Gopal Shnoy here.
Okay, and Mr. Prisby, can you
Here.
answer in the affirmative that you're here?
Can you hear me?
Thank you.
Yes.
Can hear you. Okay, so good evening. This open meeting of the Finance Committee and the Select Board is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12, 2020, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 virus. In order to mitigate the transmission of the COVID-19 virus, we have been advised and directed by the Commonwealth to suspend all public gatherings, and as such, the governor's order suspends the requirements of the open meeting law to have all meetings at a publicly accessible physical location. Further, all members of the public bodies are allowed to encourage and participate remotely. The order, which you can find posted at the town's website at www.grafton-ma.gov, allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting tonight has a feature, an agenda item that will allow for public comment for a public hearing on a charter amendment proposal. For this meeting, for the Select Board and the Finance Committee, it is convened via video conference by Zoom, as posted at the town's website, identifying how the public may join. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and that some attendees are participating by video conference. Accordingly, please be aware that other folks may be able to see you and that you take care not to screen share your computer. Anything that you broadcast may be captured by the recording for the public to view. Meeting materials. All supporting materials have been provided to members of this body. They're available at the town's website unless otherwise noted. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda unless I, the chair, will note otherwise. Just some ground rules. Please, as chair, I will introduce each speaker on the agenda this evening, and after they conclude their remarks, the chair will go down the line of members, inviting each by name to provide any comment, questions, or motions. Please hold your name until your name is called. Further, please make sure you mute your phone or computer when you're not speaking. Please remember to speak clearly in a way that helps generate accurate minutes. For any responses, please wait until the chair yields the floor to you and state your name before speaking. If members wish to engage with other members, please do so through the chair. Take kindly to identify yourself. For public comments, after members have spoken, the chair will afford the public comments as follows for the charter amendment for changing of the charter. The chair will first read any public comments or questions that we received in advance of the meeting, followed by real-time board and/or applicant responses. Public comments during the meeting will be conducted through the chat. Through the raise your hand feature to be brought in from a panelist to become a participant, and you'll be able to give your public comment for the public hearing this evening. I, the chair, will be able to control that time, and I believe that's all I have to go through. And just to let you know that any or all votes tonight will be conducted by roll call. There we go. So you miss a meeting and you're not as smooth as you used to be. Okay, so first up on the agenda this evening, we have public hearing for the proposed amendment for the town charter to allow for a strong fire chief. Ms. Roy, would you please read the motion into the record to open the public hearing and then read the public notice?
Yes, Ms. Fiacco, did you want to say something first?
I did, please. I wanted to note that Paul Cook is on as a panelist right now.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Cook.
Oh, not a problem. Thank you. Sorry for my delay.
No worries. Okay, Ms.
So
Roy.
I'm going to read the notice of the public hearing. A public hearing will be held on October 15th, 2020 at 7 p.m. or as soon thereafter as the agenda allows upon a proposed amendment of the town charter to have section 8-5B of the town charter amended by striking the following symbol and words. Board of Fire Engineers, a fire chief, forest warden, or other firefighters to serve for indefinite terms. The purpose of this amendment, as part of several actions to be taken under Article 14 of the warrant for the town meeting of October 19th, 2020, at which time the matter will be put before the voters, is to clear the way for the town to adopt a so-called strong chief for the Grafton Fire Department. The entire article and warrant may be viewed at the town website. You may participate in the public hearing via Zoom. The meeting Zoom link will be posted on the October 15th, 2020 agenda. If you have a question to ask or a comment to offer but cannot participate in the public hearing, you may submit the same by emailing the BOS group at grafton-ma.gov, by written letter sent via UP, United States Postal Service, or by hand delivery dropped off in the Golden Box outside the Grafton Municipal Center, 30 Providence Road, Grafton, Mass. All must be received by 2 p.m. October 15th, 2020. I move the board vote to open the public hearing for the proposed amendment of the town charter to allow for a strong chief.
Second.
I have a motion made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All those by roll call, please. Ms. Roy,
Roy, aye.
Mr. Oppen,
Often aye.
Mr. Frisbee,
Frisbee, aye.
Peter Carlson, I declare the motion carried. Okay, open the public hearing. Okay, so we're open the public hearing. Just give a few minutes to see if anyone wants to open up and talk about this. Give some background on this. This is a result of over a year's worth of work with the Fire Study Committee, looking at making some structural changes to the fire department when it comes to appointing the chief and giving the chief authority to run the department under the guidelines of Mass General Law. Part one of this public hearing tonight is to allow the public to mention any comment to be entered into the record prior to town meeting. Ms. Roy, we don't have any written public comment for this.
No public comment and no attendees have raised their hands.
Okay. All right. Not seeing anybody raise their hand. I'm just gonna give a couple more seconds here and I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing. Okay, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
I move the board vote to close the public hearing for the proposed amendment to the town charter to allow for a strong fire chief.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion on closing the public hearing? Hearing none. All those by roll call, please. Ms. Roy,
Roy, aye.
Mr. Frisbee,
Frisbee, aye.
Mr. Oppen,
Often aye.
Peter Carlson, I declare the motion carried, closing the public hearing. Thank you very much. Okay, that concludes select board business tonight. I want to thank the finance committee, town moderator, deputy moderator, and Mr. Terenzini and Mr. Cook for joining tonight. So tonight we have a joint meeting with the town moderator and finance committee review town meeting logistics that is to occur next Monday. So I think at this point, I want to hand over this to Mr. Conker, our town moderator, to maybe just give us an overview on what we can expect in the order and any logistics that we need to be made aware of. Mr. Conker.
Sure, I'll just give you a general overview and any questions. We have a media working with us again this town meeting. They will be setting up approximately 150 chairs seating in the gym. They will have 2 mics. They will have a podium and tables for both select and for FinCom off to the sides. And there'll be a desk for town clerk and town council also. All of this furniture will be brought in, sanitized, socially distanced when they bring it in. They have spray for the mics after each speaker. I have 6 to 7 CERT volunteers coming in to help with flow. Registration will be set up in the commons and a horizontal to try to space people out even more. And then there'll be a flow into the gym and exits out of the gym on a different way. And there are 6 different doors we can open for greater ventilation in the gym. And any overflow, we do have the auditorium also set up for an additional 46 plus seats just in case. The most we've ever had is 170 in the last 5 years. And they will be only at the end of the aisles within the auditorium because nobody can cross over each other. But each venue will have a screen so that warrant can be up on the screen to be read, and we'll be able to communicate between the 2 rooms. There'll be hand sanitizers and masks available at several different stations. And I'll look to Mr. Cook, but they're going to be using the iPads again, and they'll use the school Wi-Fi for those purposes. So minimalizing any kind of touching that needs to be done, taking as many of the precautions as we possibly can in order to get this town meeting done so that we could set the tax rate and get it moving. So that's the most of it. I'll entertain any kind of questions that people have. Ed?
Are masks required?
Peter, through you.
Are masks required?
Yes. Colleen?
I spoke with the Board of Health today, and they were not contacted about town meeting at all, so they could not give an official opinion. However, they did say if it could be postponed to Saturday to be outdoors, that would be ideal. Today's
Colleen, I don't mean to interrupt, but I've made the decision. I would not be able to put it together that quickly. Talked with the media. We would not be able to put it that quickly. Wasn't sure what the weather would be for outside. I would hate to spend tens of thousands of dollars and then have to cancel it. I agree. I'm very concerned myself. I have some high-risk folks within my family, and I'm very concerned, but I think this is the best option without spending or wasting taxpayers' monies on something that truly would be nice, but not absolutely necessary.
Okay, so I'm going to finish what I was saying. Today's number came in and the COVID cases are up to 5, which is very concerning. In fact, they called it scary, and they're really concerned what the numbers will be tomorrow. And if it's significant, they might have to hold an emergency meeting to discuss this trend. And, you know, Grafton will be in the red really quickly if that happens. So what is your plan if tomorrow's number ends up being higher?
Well, right now we're in the white, which is great.
Actually, in the green. We are not in the white. We are in the green.
Yeah, I just actually called the state today and they said we were in the white. So for right now today, you're right, it may go up. If it goes up and there is a market increase, what we can do is call the meeting and postpone it if we have to. Because if there is a big surge, I don't want to have it either. I don't think that would be beneficial to anyone. Mark?
Yeah, so Mr. Moderator, Section 2 of Chapter 53 of the Acts of 2020 gives the moderator emergency powers to change the date, time, and place of a town meeting after it's been legally posted by the Select Board, so that you do have the ability, after consultation with the Board of Health and the police chief and the fire chief to relocate the meeting out of doors. You say it's going to cost tens of thousands of dollars to move it outside. I'm trying to understand how. You
Well,
can
I-
already have the chairs, if I can finish, please.
Yep.
You're already going to have chairs being brought in. You're already going to have microphones being brought in. We don't need a jumbotron. You can do everything by paper. And I don't think it's going to cost a dime more to move it outside on a Saturday as opposed to doing it inside. And I think for the health and safety of our residents, I think we should move the town meeting outside. And I think you should use your authority under Chapter 53 of the Acts of 2020 to do that. I know I have two members of my finance committee that aren't going to attend the town meeting because it's going to be indoors. And I've been reading online, a lot of people are choosing not to come to town meeting because it's going to be indoors. I don't understand why we wouldn't want to consider moving it outdoors. Thank you.
Ed?
Yeah, Dan, if you could just go through your thought process on how you arrived on the indoor town meeting versus outdoor. I know that you've gotten a lot of emails over the past couple of days, and I know that you've said that you talked to a lot of people and you did your research. If you could elaborate on who you talked to and the research that you did, that might be helpful.
I've talked to a lot of different town folks. I've talked to doctors that I work with. I've talked to a bunch of people. I mean, the school committee has students in the same areas without masks on. It's safe for them. I'm assuming it's safe for adults also. I've looked at it. There's great ventilation within the gym. We can open it up for the doors. Is it the perfect? No, but I think it's the best option that we can have.
So if I could follow up on that really quickly. You say the best option. You would agree with me, I'm sure, that over the past couple months, what we found with COVID is that open air is better than closed air, which is the reason why we're emphasizing ventilation. You emphasize ventilation indoors to make it seem on par with outdoors. If you could go the extra step and have something outdoors, you wouldn't have to worry about ventilation. So when you say the best option, I'm wondering why you think having it indoors is better than having it outdoors beyond cost.
Well, beyond cost is that I just don't know if it'll actually be able to take place. We're going to have to schedule it out some, and I can't guess the weather on that day. It's already cold. It could be rainy, like tomorrow is supposed to be a horrendous day. I made the decision that if it was certainly earlier in September or something, I think it could have been more viable, but this is the end of October. And I think given that, it was the best way to go forward is to just have it indoors in a very open area, well-ventilated area that's easily accessible to people.
Irene?
Okay, Dan, I'm just going to make a suggestion. Do with it what you will. But perhaps tomorrow, if you get a chance, talk to the people in the town of Maynard. In June, they did their meeting drive-in style in the old Digital Equipment Corporation parking lot. You might want to have that in your back pocket if all of a sudden over the next couple of days, the Board of Health gets information indicating that we have in fact jumped into the red and you no longer believe you can safely hold Monday night's meeting. This is one more thing for you maybe to make you feel more comfortable with, okay, I can get this rescheduled quickly in a safe, viable way that is not necessarily weather dependent. And the person I would recommend you speak to is Justin DeMarco. He is the head of the DPW in Maynard and was instrumental in pulling it off. I actually attended that town meeting because I was their school business administrator at the time, and it was flawless, flawless. I was absolutely superbly impressed with how that went off. So again, just a suggestion for you.
Thank you, I appreciate that, Irene.
Mr. Haddad?
I'd like an answer to my question on why it's going to cost tens of thousands of dollars.
I'm not sure. I used that also. It's costing us thousands now. It was supposed to be much more complex. I couldn't get the information to find out how much the outdoor actually cost us. I know it will be more than the thousands that we're spending now.
Mr. Shenoy?
Yes, so if it is going to be more than the 1,000 that we are spending now, and it's not clear to us what it is, given the times that we are living in, is there a concern that we do not have the money to spend to keep the residents safe, because one of the other reasons I would like to place on record that I kind of share the concerns that have been expressed here, especially when I see that, I think yesterday it was Worcester, Southborough, and now it's Shrewsbury, then there's Milford. We are kind of getting surrounded by towns, and it's only a matter of time, if the trend continues. So what is the biggest concern? Because everything I've heard is the cost part of it. So initially it was tens of thousands of dollars. Now it's more than the thousands that we are spending. My question is, what is the incremental cost? And even if it is costly, which everybody agrees, why would we not want to do that?
I think part of it is, as the gym is a safe environment also. And it could be done. And I've been told by different people, I wish I had consensus, but I've been getting from many different parties, many different questions and answers, is that we need to set the tax rate and we need to have this done soon. So that was also a consideration of why we were going to go forward.
Mr. Shenoy and then Mr. Smith.
Yes, I totally agree with you. That means I would love to have this town meeting. There are some very important ones that we in the finance committee also would like to get passed. The only concern we have is indoor versus outdoor. We are not saying cancel it completely and we will have it in spring, but the concern that we are saying is, why don't we spend the extra money, keep the residents safe, and have it outside?
That was a possibility. And I did not think that was the best possibility, in my opinion, after talking with folks. I'm trying to take all of this in, believe me, and understand all the concerns. And if there is a surge, I would definitely postpone it. I've been watching the numbers also, and it is a consideration that we have to think about. If there is a surge, do we have to postpone it quickly? And that may be, call the meeting on Monday and have it and I'll postpone it immediately on Monday if there is a surge. Right now, we do not have many cases in Grafton. It is still a low risk town.
Mr. Smith, Mr. Austin, and then Mr. Frisbee.
Hi, we have a question in the Zoom chat.
Can we hold off on the questions in the Zoom chat right now, Mr. Smith, until we finish our discussion? Thank you.
It applies directly to this discussion.
I understand. Let's go through the discussion with any of the members first, and then we'll open it up to the public.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Smith. We had Mr. Austin and then Mr. Frisbee.
Yeah, thank you. My concern is both with the safety of this proposed approach, but also even if it is safe, it's about the resident involvement in town meeting. So this is, obviously one of the most important things that we do each year, and it's the perception of safety and the risk that everybody's having to weigh. So it's not even, it's in part making sure that we're providing a safe environment, but also it is allowing for participation for anybody that wants it. And it seems to me that, I've just in this meeting become aware of the fact that we've got some finance committee meeting members that aren't going to make it. I know that there's at least one select board member that's not going to make it. And these are the people that are sort of knee deep in town politics. We've had several people reach out that have just said that they're not willing to, risk their own health and their own family's health to go to town meeting. I have a significant concern that we're not actually providing access to this important event to the people that would want access to it. I have a question. And that is at the Springtown meeting, we gave people the option of sitting in the parking lot and waiting for the articles that they were interested in voting in and then coming in and voting. Is that something that is proposed for this meeting? Because I think that would help.
I had not set up radio, no. It's on beyond cable, but I had not set up radio.
Okay.
But thank you, Matt, that's new information to me on some of the members. So I thank you for that. I had not heard of that until tonight.
Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Frisbee, Ms. Roy, and then Mr. Kushner.
Yeah, Dan, thank you. I'm one of the members who, frankly, I'm on the fence And I go out into the world every single day. I've been at my office for the past 6 months, but I worked really hard to keep my interaction with other people to the bare minimum. And one of the things I do know and I am aware of is that confined and enclosed spaces are just less desirable than open spaces when you're talking about more people. So I'm wondering if, we talk about Grafton being a low risk town, I'm wondering if that's because we've avoided events like this. We're not low risk because there's anything special about Grafton. We're low risk because we haven't had any super spreader events and we tend not to be on top of each other. And it occurs to me that there's very little difference between the event that we're organizing for the community to come set a tax rate and one of those rather foolish and foolhardy weddings or church services where 200 people get into the same room. So what would you say to someone like me who's concerned that I could end up going to this thing and impacting somebody else's life, or somebody could impact mine and I could bring that to work and I could bring it home to my kids? That's certainly a possibility. Are we telling people that it's safe and come on in, it's just as safe as being outside?
I think we're taking a lot of safety precautions, including mandatory masks. A lot of the super spreaders did not have masks being worn. That reduces it significantly. We're going to be having.
I know. I don't mean to interrupt you, but let's be honest here. It's about the airflow being in the same room. Masks are helpful, and no one's saying that they're not. But what we're finding over the past couple months is that being in the same room for a prolonged period of time next to other people breathing in that circulated air is really what causes these super spreader events, masks or not, 6 feet or not. So I guess my question is, are we really doing the best we can, or are we doing what's expedient here?
I don't think I'm just doing it because it's expedient. And I would have welcomed all of this input earlier. I would have appreciated it, actually. I did not receive it this by a lot of people until just the last couple days. I would have appreciated this. I did as much reaching out as I could do. I would actually take this all under consideration. And I am not saying I'm wed to this. I was hoping that we could have some more discussion today and have that thought process work. There is always the possibility we could open and postpone it immediately on Monday and let everyone know that's going to happen. But I did not get a lot of this input from people until just the last 2 days. And I would have more than welcomed it. I was sort of doing it on my own. I actually have a job too that I had to do it while I had to put together the entire town meeting, which means all the operations. I did not have anyone to rely on in town hall. Carter's been helpful. Joanne's been helpful. Cindy's been helpful, but they weren't the ones who put it all together in the summer. So I understand that. I hear it and I agree with you. And I would definitely reconsider if this is the strong feeling of everybody.
Okay, thank you.
We had, was it Ms. Roy and then Mr. Kusha? Did I have that right?
So back in August, when you came in to talk about this with the select board, Saturday was discussed a couple different times, and with the anticipation that having it on a Saturday meant it would be outdoors, and you were pretty not open to that then. And the numbers were a little bit lower back then. And after you've kind of shut it down in August, I don't know how we could have really opened that back up. But I'm
going to interrupt you there. Yeah, I'm going to interrupt you there because
please just let me finish.
The board voted in August. I was not adamant against it. I really wasn't. It doesn't matter to me if we have it on a Saturday or Monday. I'm around all the time. So that was not the case. That was an incorrect statement of the case. I read the minutes. You voted on it.
I watched the meeting today. It's a 10-minute discussion and you can go back and watch it yourself. And I just wanted to go on record. I am the select board member that will not attend if it's indoors because I do believe that it is unsafe to sit 200 people in a room breathing the same air for hours on end. We've been told that for months. I quit my job so that I could stay home with my child to do remote learning. I'm not going to risk it all now to go to one town meeting event and possibly get myself or someone else sick. I don't believe it is the best option as it keeps being referred to. Outside would have been the best option.
I hear you. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Kusha, and then Mr. Shenoy, and then Mr. Haddad.
Yeah, so for the June town meeting, Ray Mead came to the select board on May 26th, almost a month before the town meeting, And at that time, he had it all planned out. He gave a 45-minute presentation and Q&A. He had diagrams, he had maps. He had prepared a 5-minute video for the public so they would understand what they should expect when they arrive. I'm not seeing any of that preparation here. And you're saying that you would have loved to get this input earlier. Ray came to the select board almost a month earlier to discuss with them and go over his plan. And you didn't even talk to the Board of Health about this. After hearing everything tonight, I'm not comfortable at all attending this town meeting. I mean, if you couldn't even prepare by talking to the Board of Health, how on earth can I expect that you're actually doing what needs to be done to keep me safe at this town meeting? I will not be attending.
We had Mr. Haddad and Mr. Shinoy.
I think, go Paul, you go first. I'll go after you.
Mr. Shinoy, you're on mute.
I'll express my personal opinion here, Dan. I am not trying to belittle or assume that it's easy to set up this meeting. So I appreciate the effort, whatever effort that you put in. You're doing it for the first time. So I just want to make sure that I specify that. The only thing I would ask you to consider is if you're going to make a decision otherwise on Monday and the town meeting is on Tuesday, and if you want to postpone it to Saturday, are you better off buying some time if you make that decision tomorrow versus Monday? That is something I would ask you to consider. And I just wanted to mention that to you. But I am in no way personally saying that whatever you're trying to do is easy and does not take effort, especially in the times we live in.
No, I thank you for that. And definitely if the thought is, and I'm like I said, I'm not reticent about this. If the thought is we should postpone this and then redo that, we can make that decision. I can make that decision tomorrow and then let everyone know what's going to happen on Monday, call it, postpone it, and then we could do it differently. I'm very open to that.
Yeah.
I am not in any rush to get people indoors in a meeting. I had heard a lot of different opinions, and I tried to get to a middle ground. That's why we do it. One of the things we wanted to do about, do we bundle it, get the articles down to a bare minimum so that we can get people in and out so it's not a long time, thinking of those kinds of things to do it. But I'm also open to postponing and doing something different.
1 second, I'm going to interrupt everyone before you go, Mr. Haddad. Maybe just in the sake of just time, I think everyone has voiced their concerns tonight about hosting this indoors. Dan, would it help if you just took a straw poll from all of us just about how we feel? Because this conversation, I think, can go on for hours. And I think I'm kind of sensing the way a lot of the members here tonight feel. And if it's all right with you, just kind of go down the list here in my Zoom and just say, indoors, yay or nay. Okay.
That would be fine.
Does that sound fair to everyone? Just put on the list here. Okay. Mr. Smith, indoors, yay or nay?
Oy.
Yay or nay?
Abstain.
Okay. Ms. Robbins?
Nay.
Ms. Hool? I can't hear you.
I'll attend if it's held. My preference is outdoors, so I would say nay on the indoors.
Okay, great. Mr. Jefferson?
Nay.
Mr. Haddad?
Nay.
Mr. Shinoy?
Nay.
Mr. Often?
Nay.
Ms. Roy?
Nay.
Mr. Swenson?
Nay.
Mr. Kusher?
Nay.
Mr. Frisbee?
Nay.
Ms. McHugh?
I'm with Irene. I would do either. It really doesn't bother. Either one doesn't bother me, to be honest. It doesn't.
Okay. All right. I think there's an overwhelming, people prefer to have it outside. So not to have it indoors, Dan. I mean, this is in your court right now. You're calling the shot from here. I just don't want to know, does it make sense to go any further? I think the only other option that he has right now is to prepare this for outside in a shorter amount of time. And logistics, is something that would have to occur quickly if that is where the town moderator wants to go. And is everyone in agreement with that? Is that pretty much where we're at?
What I could do is take all this in, Peter, and I can have my decision by tomorrow morning.
That sounds great. Okay, Mr. Haddad? Sorry.
Mr. Moderator, I was going to echo what Gopal just said. I think if you do make that decision tomorrow, I would just make the decision and move the town meeting without calling it on Monday and canceling it and then moving it. You have the right under the law to do it within 30 days of the calling of the meeting, so you can postpone it to the following Saturday without bringing people out. I'm concerned
Okay.
bringing people out
Well,
on Monday and then all of a sudden say we're going to change. I think that's unfair to the people that come out. So I would urge you, if you're going to make the change, which is totally your decision, that you make the change and not even go with Monday. Pick a date, maybe the following Saturday. I just looked at the 10-day forecast.
Yeah, I
65
don't
and
think
sunny.
I'm not sure if I could do the following Saturday and maybe have to do the one after. I can check. I also want to check with Council, Mark, because I did not know that. I thought I had to actually call the meeting and then postpone it. But if I don't have to, great. And then we can get that out earlier and it'd be much better. So that'd be even better.
Yeah, you do not. All you have to do is you have to consult with the Board of Health, make the decision, notify the Attorney General's office that you're changing the date of the meeting, and then change the date of the meeting. And then obviously we would want to put our social media and town website to work, notifying people that we've changed the date once you've made that decision. So the sooner you make it, the better. You do not have to call it and then postpone it. You can make that decision and pick a date. It has to be within 30 days
Correct,
of the date of the meeting.
Yep.
Thank you for listening to me.
All right. I've got Mr. Trahan and then Mr. Cook. Is anyone else all set with questions? I think we're in we're in majority agreement here. Okay, Mr. Trahan, what do you have?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a quick comment that if it is postponed and it is outdoors, that we be extremely mindful that outdoor venues don't offer it's sort of like a false sense of security, in that after the Springtown meeting, actually in June, was adjourned, everyone just herded out of there like cattle. It was ridiculous. So that there was the opposite of social distancing. Everyone just packed in there toward the exit. And that happened at the graduation too. I was an MRC volunteer at both events. And after everyone sort of ended up egressing off the football field, once they got up the hill and into the parking lot, it was a massive, massive face-to-face crowd. So I just want to be mindful that however we do this, if we do this outdoors, that we shore up as much information as possible out and get it out there, and really stress upon people that they have to take self-responsibility. I think that both events could have been super spreader events based on what happened at the end of each meeting. Actually, the meeting and the graduation, in that no matter how much planning there was, once it was all said and done, it could have been a wash. That's my input.
Thank you. Mr. Cook?
Thank you. Dan, just a quick comment. You had mentioned the poll pads, the iPads earlier, which we would use. We do have early voting going on this coming Saturday, the 17th, as well as Saturday, the 24th of October. And, you know, we use the poll pads to check in voters there. So I don't know if the meeting were to be postponed to a Saturday, depending on the time. My poll pads would be committed to early voting.
And Paul, what time do you have the early voting on those days?
That is 9 to 1
9 to
on
1.
weekend days. Yep. And that goes for this coming Saturday and Sunday on the 24th and 25th is 9 to 1.
Okay, 9 to 1. Thank you.
No problem.
Mr. Cook, how many poll pads do we have?
We have 5, sir.
Okay.
And I would have all 5 employed at early voting.
Understood. Thank you. Ms. Roy?
Early voting take place on Sunday, and if not, could that be a consideration to free up the poll pads?
Say that again, Colleen. Does early voting take place on Sunday?
Correct.
Yes, it does.
Okay.
Also 9 to 1, also the 18th and the 25th, looking at the calendar.
Thank you. Okay. Any other questions on Okay, Mr. Shinoy?
Dan, is there any option, any other option to do this where people do not have to gather in person? I don't know anything about this. This is more for my knowledge. Is there anything that gives you the right or no?
Carter, I believe you told me today that that had to be in person. That wasn't, there wasn't a big enough, a broad enough waiver for that to happen.
The statute that permits, I'm sorry, Mark.
Go ahead, Carter.
The statute that permits so-called virtual town meetings applies only to those communities that have a representative form of town meeting. Arlington, Stoughton, Brookline, there's a number of them that have them. You still have an open town meeting, and the statute does not provide for virtual participation in such a meeting.
Thank you.
I get that right?
Mr.
You
Haddad?
got it
and then
100% right. That's exactly what I was going to say, Carter. You're smarter than I am.
Mr. Haddad and Mr. Swenson.
No, Carter said what I was going to say.
Mr. Swenson.
Could we, like, what's preventing us from doing it on a weeknight? Like, can we just turn the lights on the football field, or just because then we wouldn't run into, you know, the poll pad issue? I mean, maybe we could just do it outside Monday night. I know logistically that's probably got some planning involved, but then maybe we wouldn't incur an additional cost because we're not moving the day and we're keeping the same exact time. I don't know.
Yeah, I thought that's what was mentioned to me, because I had actually raised that, was the temperature, and it's going to be dropping very quickly after sunset, and it would be possibly too cold. But you're right, we had thought about doing that also.
Just let you know the long-term forecast will be a high of 64 and a low of 48 Monday. Ms. Robbins, and then Mr. Often.
And I'd just like to say, I'd rather bundle up and be cold than sit in that 98-degree sun for all those hours we did on that Saturday. That was brutal.
Yes.
And bundling up is not a big deal if you're sitting in the cold. I mean, we go to football games, we bundle up, we sit there at night games and everything else. So
okay,
I can sit in the cold, but that heat got to me. It really did.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Often.
Ms. Robbins said what I was going to say.
Okay, thank you. Before we go on to part of the meeting here tonight, which was to kind of go over the motions and stuff, there were some comments within the chat function I just wanted to go over real quick. So Dan, there was a question from Aaron Kusher regarding why wasn't the BOH involved in setting up the meeting. I think we kind of addressed that tonight, that for Monday you will be in touch with them going forward. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Eric, you had put a comment in there. Does that need to be addressed? Okay.
Nope.
The school, you put in some statistics. Mr. Shinoy, okay. And then Ms. Paluzzi said at night there's an issue of EEE. So that's another thing we have to consider, having it outdoors after dusk. So that's all we have for people in the chat group. Okay, is there any other questions before we go on to the next part here? Ms.
Irene, this one, I think.
It's not a question. I just want to address the concern about EEE. I believe the temperatures we're talking about at this point in time have pretty much eliminated or reduced to total complete insignificance the EEE risk. Valid point, and would have been very valid in September. I think less so in October. If somebody knows differently, feel free to contradict me.
I may be wrong, but I believe the Board of Health may weigh in on that and let Mr. Cocker know. That's a good point. Okay. Who else had their hand up? I'm sorry.
I was just going to mention Board of Health for EEE.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Terenzini?
I just want to remind the board and the moderator that the statute, while it allows for postponement, does require the filing of a report within 10 days. And Dan, I'll be happy to help you with that. And I'm sure Mark could help you as well.
Yeah, that's the report I said has to go to the Attorney General.
Yep, exactly.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions? Just to recap, Dan, correct me if I'm wrong, but by tomorrow you'll make a decision about Monday, but if things still go sideways and it comes down to a last minute decision, you'll make that call. We understand that you can cancel this earlier. We don't have to open the meeting to postpone it. So that's options there with filing some paperwork. And I think that pretty much summarizes what got out of this. Okay. All right. So did we want to go through at least the and discuss the motions tonight?
Sure. I think a bunch of the work is already done because it's already been assigned for the readings. Who's going to take which article? Most of them are majority. They're. Oh, we still here? Okay. There are some that do require 2/3 and 1/4. There was another one that was sent out, Peter, that had the name of the person who was going to read it off. Do you have that one, or does somebody have that one? Do we ever put this up?
I do. I can get a copy of that in a second.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask a question while you're looking it up?
Go ahead, Mr. Haddad.
So Carter sent out an email today with the idea of a consent agenda to sort of speed the meeting up by grouping various articles. I think that's a great idea. We just did our town meeting in Groton, and we used the consent agenda very successfully to move articles without debate forward. And if somebody wanted to hold a particular article, they had the right to hold it. And then it's pulled out of the consent agenda, and then people can debate that article moving forward. I like that idea, and I would urge the moderator and the select board to consider using the consent agenda. And if you need help writing those motions, I can do that for you. The one thing I'm opposed to is passing over any article that was submitted by the Finance Committee. So
Right.
I think the consent agenda, whether you do it inside, outside, Monday, Saturday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, the consent agenda at this particular town meeting makes a lot of sense.
Right, I agree with you, Mark, and that's why when talking with Carter today, we came up with sort of tried to bunch them up for a consent agenda, and we're going to, of course, give the possibility for hold on any one of those that we put together in order to sort of move that along, so anybody would have the ability to put a hold for discussion on any of those articles. We basically broke it down. I think there's really 6 different votes that would have to take place, plus whatever was held.
And Carter, if you need help with the exact motion that needs to be drafted, I'll send you what we did in Groton.
Sure. Appreciate it. Once the group has decided if it wants to proceed in that fashion and what the groupings were, if I may, I do need to point out that I did this morning, unfortunately, receive one more late bill item, so I'll get that added in the morning. So this is going to have to be just sent out one more time. And if we know if the meeting's going to be postponed, we'll have a little more time to work on those groupings and those consent motions with your help, Mark.
So I didn't know if this is maybe a good time to ask the select board how they feel about that, about consolidating the motions as described. Is there any discussion on that before we go on and read this, Mr. Austin?
I'm in full support of the consensus agenda. I think it's a great idea for lots of reasons. But that's all I have to say.
Anybody else? Ms. Roy.
I like the idea of a consent agenda. I'm just not sure I'm wild about passing over a couple of the articles to accommodate that.
Yeah, no, Colleen, those were just ones that we thought would be, anyone could be held and discussed. That's not an issue.
Any other discussion? Mr. Frisbee, do you have a consensus one way or the other? No. You're on mute. Mr. Frisbee, you're on mute.
No, I'm just yelling at my children in the background. Sorry.
I think I heard something going off in the background too. I hope everything's okay. All right. Been there, done that. Yeah, my view of it too, Ms. Conker, I think that's fine. I'm in favor of it. Anything to lessen the exposure, even if we have a split indoor and outdoor like we did in the summer, and move things along. So yeah, I would be more interested in seeing how this would all look like. So I guess tonight I want to know, is everyone good with just going through each one of the articles tonight just seeing how they are, or do we want to go off on this part?
I think if we're gonna, yeah, Mr. Chairman, I think if you're gonna go ahead with a consent agenda, I think you should have that put in place first. I think the Finance Committee anyway, we have reviewed all these motions. We're very comfortable with them, so we know exactly what's going on. We've taken our positions on all the articles. So I think I would rather have the Finance Committee focus on what a consent agenda would be. So I'd like to see that first, but I welcome input from the Finance Committee on how you feel about that.
Also, I had Mark, I think that makes sense. If we're going to go with the consent, I think it'd be better to see it so people could act on it better. I agree.
Anyone else from the Finance Committee? Ms. Robbins?
Can you just explain to me, clarify what is consent agenda?
What we basically do is group some articles together, and we could vote on them together. We could also put a hold, so we could, if we put all the CPC motions together, we could vote them as a whole. If anybody had a question on number 8, they could say hold on 8, and we could take that out and discuss it and vote. It's basically a block vote.
Okay, I got it. Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, so I think we're at that point now, so we're gonna wait to get that. How soon before we think we'll have a condensed agenda available for the group to review?
Well, Pete, I'll make the decision by tomorrow morning, and I could start talking with Carter, and if Mark was great, be helpful too, that would be wonderful. We could start right as soon as the decision's made.
Do we want to do that anyway, Stan, just for the sake of, even if, regardless of what the decision is?
I think we had to, like Joe sketched out, that we sent out to the select board. We just have to work on the wording and making sure that everyone's clear on what it's going to look like, and have the FinCom weigh in and have selectmen take a look at it, just so that everyone's comfortable with it.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Haddad?
Yeah, I was gonna say, Carter and Mr. Moderator, I know the groupings that you have. I'll email you tomorrow morning the motions that you need in order to have the consents done, and I'll get that off to you tomorrow morning. If Carter, if you can send me a copy of the motions in Word form, I'll put it together for you and have it to you by 8 o'clock tomorrow morning.
Mr. Terrazini, yes, please. Yep.
We had sent out sort of a group blocking. I think that frankly, writing the motions is the easiest part of it. I sense there may be some difference of opinion as to how the bundling should occur. Given we're
I support the bundling. I don't support the passing over.
Okay. Were there any concerns from anyone else then as to how things were to be bundled? And does it make sense to show that spreadsheet, Dan?
Yeah, sure. I thought, I think all the board members have it. I can't call it up on my split screen here.
I can do it.
But we could certainly get it out.
You want me to pull it up and share it?
Sure, if you could, that'd be great, Peter.
Sure, stand by.
I'm just thinking that truthfully, the writing of the motion, which Mark is going to do, is the easiest part for me, since.
Why do you think I took that job?
But if there's some agreement on how to bundle or to not, I think that would make life much easier.
Okay, so this is what was sent out earlier to select board, just as for discussion, just as this is what it would look like. Do you want to take a few minutes, Mr. Terenzini and Mr. Conker, and maybe just review the logic behind the way that this was bundled?
Well, when Dan and I went through it, I looked for items that I thought had some similarity. And I avoided items that had larger votes or I thought needed standalone votes. So the FY21 budget amendment that's being paid for with new revenues, the funding of the fire retirement fund, amending of the FY20, and adjusting the sewer. Those to us seem to be alike. The late bills, we thought should stand alone. That's a 4/5 vote. If you include that in any consent agenda, any bundle, it triggers a 4/5 vote on the entire package. Dan was concerned, and I think rightly so, that we not jeopardize any of those other articles. I'm going to leave this next bundle alone for a moment, and y'all can chat about that. The third bundle is all CPC items, or CPC related in some fashion. It's the monies to support housing due to COVID. It's the CPC monies on open space. The next one's an open space. There's the CPC article that needs to be rescinded, and then we have to refund that article once it's rescinded. So again, those seem all related and relatively discussion free. The next grouping, and we did get free cash certified today, just so you'll know. The final number's around 1.7. You'll be about 1.3 once you use the monies for your fall town meeting. These are basically the road stabilization. You do that every year. That's the money that you transfer out of there to undertake those projects. A contribution to the tree removal fund, the entrance ramps, the handicapped accessibility, and those cruisers, 2 of them. And again, they're all using free cash or other sources of funding. They seemed relatively controversy-free. Article 14 requires that 2/3 vote. Paragraph A, paragraph B and C do not, they're majorities. But at the end of the day, if you don't get 2/3 on that charter amendment, paragraphs B and C are meaningless because you remain in conflict. So I think that that's kind of how we'd put it together. That came out to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bundles, subject to your conversations and discussion of Passover. So setting aside the Passover issue for a moment, I leave that to you all. Is everyone comfortable with the balance of how we have assembled these, what we think are related items? Pointing out again that the late bills I will have to amend in the next day.
Hey, Carter, I think the road stabilization is a 2/3.
It used to be, it's now a majority according to council.
That's correct.
Yeah,
How
it's
did that happen?
in Municipal Modernization Act, it went upside down. It's still 2/3 to put money in, but now it's majority to take it out.
Oh, wait a minute. No, that's the opposite, Carter.
No, you're
It's
right,
ma-
Mark, it is.
It's
So it's
majority to put
2/3.
in, 2/3 to take it out.
We'll double check that, Ed, but I think that that's relatively non-controversial. Unless y'all think that should be a standalone, we could do that. We'll double check these.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I think I would prefer to group the majority stuff with the majority stuff and the 2/3 stuff with the 2/3 stuff. Just because, I mean, we did make a big promise to voters back when we passed the road stabilization fund that we would be really, really careful with that money and make sure we maintained our commitment to that.
Yep. I don't see why we couldn't. I would keep 13, 18, and 19, though they're free cash. They're not budgetary articles in terms of the operating budget. Okay, we'll regroup that.
Okay, any other questions, Mr. Haddad?
I support the bundling, the way Carter is presenting it. I think it makes a lot of sense to do it that way. I think I made my position known on the third motion, bundling, passing over the FinCom proposals as well as the CIPC bylaw. I don't see any reason why we can't bring those forward. And if somebody wants to hold and debate it, we can hold and debate it. But I think that the town meeting has a right to decide that. And I would be opposed. And I think the Finance Committee would be opposed to passing over our articles. And we're in full support of the CIPC bylaw as well.
Any other questions or comments on the bundling? Mr. Smith?
When the articles are entered into the accounting software, do they retain their bundle or do they get split back out as separate warrant articles?
The motions are the way the motions are drafted. You're just voting them in a bundle, but the motions will still be there before the voters to see. You're going to have a main motion over it saying we consolidate and vote this as one. then you'll have the motions underneath it, gets voted, and then that's the full record of the town meeting. You're still voting what's in the articles.
It's for voting purposes only, not for any other purpose. If they're separate articles, it's just for voting purposes.
Peter, could I kindly ask you to put up Article 1, because it has the exact wording that Mark is referring to that I think will help everyone understand.
Second.
The same wording is used on Article 14. It's just that Article 1 is an accounting article.
One second.
While he's doing that, I just want to make a note that somebody in the chat had asked for a zoom in on what was up on the page. So anytime you're screen sharing, make sure you've made it as large as possible to make it easier for people to see.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Mr. Schumer.
I need to leave, so is that okay if I drop off unless there is a roll call?
Not going to let you, Mr. Schumer. You got to stay.
You can go.
No, I didn't know if there was a roll call or something so that I had to do. Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome. Have a good night.
Good night.
Okay, here it is.
So the key to it is really in the second line. So that you're taking paragraph A, B, and C, if this were adopted in this manner, with each action to be voted as a single block, provided that they will be treated for accounting and legislative purposes as if each item were voted as a separate article. So you're bundling them for convenience, and the town clerk records it in that manner. But whenever it is certified or it's entered into the accounting system, it is separated out as Mark will write these motions.
Okay. Thank you. Anything else? That's right.
I just have a question about the bundle that is marked as Passover, as Mr. Haddad keeps mentioning. Is that something we need to take an action on tonight, whether we decide to keep it as a bundle to vote on or keep it as a bundle to pass over? When will that decision be made and how is it made?
Yeah, well, that, within that bundle, Colleen, you could always put a hold on any one of those, and we could do it as a bundle and just put a hold on each one of them. We were just grouping that together for ease sake, but all of these, even the others, someone could ask for a hold on any of those within each bundle.
But we're not going to pass over them, so we can take that language out.
Yeah, that was just for hopefully ease purposes. It's not official at all.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Haddad.
Yeah, like I said, the motion I'm going to give Carter tomorrow, we'll have those bundled as one motion, but they'll be voting on the main motions that we're not passing over. Then town meeting can decide what they want to do with it.
Right. Okay. Anything else? Okay, to be continued. Dan, you'll let us know tomorrow. I'm sure, reasonable amount of time, and then we'll take any action going forward. I want to thank everyone for making it out tonight. Please appreciate, this is a very fluid situation with COVID-19, and we appreciate everyone's efforts in making sure that we can have a safe and effective town meeting for everybody. And I want to appreciate everyone for sharing their thoughts tonight. And I appreciate you listening tonight and hearing the concerns from finance and select board. And I'm sure that if you need anything from any one of us in assistance, please do not hesitate to ask any of us. We're willing to help you out with anything you need.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I don't have any further business with the select board this evening, so I know the finance committee, if I'm not mistaken, is going to continue its meeting after this. Is that correct?
We are, yep.
At this point, if there isn't any further business with the select board, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the select board.
I motion we adjourn the select board meeting.
Second.
Motion made second by roll call, please. Ms. Roy,
Roy, I.
Mr. Often,
Often aye.
Mr. Frisbee,
Yeah.
Peter Carlson, aye. Okay, the motion carried. Select board is adjourned. Thank you very much, everyone, for putting this together. Thank you, Sue, again for your hosting.
Hey, Carter, can you hang on for 1 second with us?
Of course.
So we were gonna reconsider motion 2 for a recommendation because of the adding of another bill, but you just said tonight there's gonna be another bill, so until that happens, I don't want to take any action, then we'll just have to reconsider it again. So I would suggest to the finance committee that until we get the numbers from Carter, we not act on that. Is that okay by
If
consensus?
you can bear with me, I can give you the number.
Oh, all right.
Let me just get back to a different screen, Mark. My apologies, I was a little frustrated this morning, but it's a bill for National Grid. It's going to add $989.43, which will bring that 57,280 up to 58. I'd have to do the math, but that's going to be the number, Mark.
Go ahead, Heather.
I would just wait. It just, with the way that things are going this year with bills, I don't understand. Why don't we just wait?
I'm fine with waiting.
I have a feeling that they're gonna find more.
Yeah,
please
okay.
don't,
No, I don't want you to find more, but
Carter, I know you don't want that, but it just seems like there's bills coming out of the woodwork and
Fair enough, but I did want to give you an early alert this morning that
I
there would be
appreciate
this
that.
added.
no, we definitely appreciate it, but I for
I'm with
Sue,
you, Heather.
you know, for Susan to have to keep opening and closing, and just we might as well just wait.
Yep.
I have a
Fair.
feeling it's gonna get postponed, so why not just wait?
Fair enough.
all right, I'm good with that. That's perfect. So the other business that we had tonight is to figure out our meeting schedule moving forward. Did you all get the email from Laura Often on the doodle for the dates? Okay, so that's going to be, we're waiting to hear from her on the final doodle to see where we land. So hopefully by town meeting, we'll be able to have those dates. Susan, are there other dates that we need to pick right now, or can we hold off on that and wait until we could probably try to figure that out at another meeting, because there really isn't anything pressing other than that tri-board meeting that we have to do, correct?
That is correct.
All right, so Carter is going to get to us dates that he wants us to meet to look at his revenue projections for FY22. So we'll pick those dates when Carter is ready to go on that as well. So I don't think we need to pick any other dates. Once I get the doodle dates back from Laura and Peter, we will get those off to you and we'll let you know we're going to have the tri-board meeting. And then Carter will get to me the dates he's ready to meet with us to go over the fiscal year 22 revenue projections, and we'll schedule a meeting then. Is that acceptable to everybody? Okay, I don't think,
get the
go
email
ahead,
from
go ahead,
Laura.
Irene. Huh?
I didn't get the email from Laura. Sue, can you send me a copy?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Mark's forwarded it to us.
Yeah,
Right.
it came through Mark.
It came through me. I didn't send it to you,
Yeah.
Irene? I
No,
forgot Irene? Uh-oh.
I think so, because I do not remember seeing it.
Okay, I will send it out. I will send it out. Go ahead, Carter.
Thank you.
I just have a procedural question. Is any one of you set up on a relay, or if I send something to Sue for finance, does it automatically go out to everybody? Does the finance committee have a single address where we could set up a relay? Otherwise, I'm sending stuff to Sue and then,
Yeah, our
no
email address is,
disrespect to her,
no,
then I have to make sure she gets it out.
yeah, our email address is FinCom, what is it? FinCom at grafton-mass.gov.
Okay.
Or
FinCom,
finance at, Sue, what is it?
No, it's FinCom@grafton-ma.gov.
okay, and that way, like this morning, if I have something, I can just get it out to everybody.
Absolutely, because all
Okay.
we end up doing is forwarding it off.
Well, exactly. I'm just looking to save a few clicks in a few minutes.
Yeah. And Mark, I did just find it.
I did send it to you. Irene, I was starting to worry that I forgot about you. And
No, I found
I could
it.
never.
I'm usually pretty good at digging them up, but that one got buried.
All right. Sue, is there anything else that we need to cover?
We need to take care of a few bills.
Okay. You want to describe what they are? I don't have the agenda in front of me, so I apologize.
I'm sorry, I was going to look at the agenda as well. So we have one for $432, which is crazy. A legal notice that goes from Gatehouse, New England, which is the Grafton News legal notice.
You have a motion to approve that bill?
I move that we paid the motion as, pay the bill as presented.
There a second?
Second,
Second.
All those in favor by roll call, Barry,
aye.
Sue,
Aye.
Irene,
Aye.
Heather,
Aye.
Dan? Dan? Oh,
No
I lost
trouble.
Dan.
Did we
Aye,
lose Dan?
I saw, hi, Andy,
Aye.
Eric. Eric? We lose Eric? We lost Eric? Oh, there he is.
Say aye, Eric.
He said, I saw his lips said aye, and Mark, aye. What else?
Sorry,
Sue?
I pressed the wrong button.
That's okay, Eric.
So the second one is for $30.74. And what that is nameplates for Gopal and for Andy.
I have a real problem with that bill.
So do I.
Have a motion?
Make a motion that we pay the $30.74 for the cool nameplates for Gopal and Andy.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor by roll call, Sue,
Aye.
Barry,
Aye.
Irene,
Aye.
Heather,
Aye.
Dan,
Aye.
Andy.
Is it self-serving to vote aye?
No, you can vote aye.
You don't have to abstain.
Eric,
Aye.
Mark, aye, unanimous. What else, Sue?
And then we have the webinar, the Zoom webinar attendees, 6 attendees from Finance Committee to attend in the next couple of weeks.
Have a motion?
I move that we pay the bill to the Association Finance Committee in the amount of $150 as presented.
There a second?
Second.
All those in favor by roll call, Barry,
Aye.
Sue,
Aye.
Irene,
Aye.
Heather,
Aye.
Dan,
Aye.
Andy,
Aye.
Eric,
Aye.
Mark, aye. Go ahead, Heather.
When is the meeting?
I'm just looking it up here. 10:22 is the first one. The second one is 10:29. The third one is 11:12. They start at 7 o'clock.
Okay, just want to make sure it wasn't going to affect if we did move the town meeting.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. And just aside, the 6 attendees, you will be notified via the association with our webinar information.
One quick note, if I could jump in.
Please.
We did talk about the possible dates for the TRICOM meeting, and that does conflict with a couple of the dates for the webinar, just to make people aware.
So when you're filling out the doodle, make sure you say you're not available on those nights.
Right.
Looks like one date is really going to be the date, but. or is
Yeah,
it
it
not?
appears, yeah, I saw that. It appears that was the date. Anything else, Sue?
The only comment I'd like to make on that, which is the 10:21, which it looks like the TRICOM meeting is showing a great deal of interest, is, you know, when Peter had sent out the original date, or excuse me, the original request, he wanted to make sure that staff was going to be able to prepare anything that you needed. And that, keep in mind, that's like 2 days after right now scheduled town meeting.
It doesn't make sense to do it that fast. We probably should push it off until into November. As a matter of fact, I think it would make more sense that we get Carter's preliminary numbers before the Tri-Con meets, because what is there to discuss? That's just my 2 cents. We'll see what Laura says when she gets back to me.
That makes sense though, Mark.
Yep. Anything else, Sue?
We have it all, sir.
All right, well, thank you, everybody. Great meeting. I'm glad the moderator was here tonight. I'm glad he listened to us. I look forward to his decision tomorrow, and we'll see what happens. Either way, I know Gopal won't be at town meeting Monday, and I won't be at town meeting Monday, and I don't know who else won't be. Just go ahead, Sue.
What would be the protocol after tomorrow? How are we going to go forward?
Once the moderator makes his ruling on the date of town meeting and he notifies everybody, we'll schedule a FinCom meeting for half an hour before that date.
Oh, okay. Which right now, okay. Right now we are.
Right now, you're
scheduled
posted for Monday, so you're posted for Monday at 7. Go ahead with that meeting.
That is posted, yes.
Correct. So if the
Okay.
town meeting stays Monday, you're all set. If he changes the date of the town meeting, we'll just post the meeting a half hour before the start. Is that okay with the rest of the committee?
Yeah.
Makes sense?
I just want you to know, Mark, that
Yep.
if the meeting ends up being inside, I will not be attending. I have a family member who has cancer and I'm not going to risk it.
I understand 100% completely with you.
And so
I get it.
I will send what I was going to present to Irene. So she
Okay.
can have those 2 articles.
Oh, yes, thank you, Sue. Appreciate it.
Did some research on other finance committees and how they're organized, and I'll send that all along as well.
Okay.
Thank you, Sue.
Yep.
Go ahead, Dan.
I also just want to mention, after hearing everything tonight, I will not be attending if it's held indoors.
So are we gonna have a quorum? Who can make that Monday meeting if we have it? Irene will be there, Barry, you'll be there, Andy, Heather. Gopal won't, so we need one more member to have a quorum, and we won't have a quorum of the finance committee there.
I will not be attending if it's indoors.
Okay, so we do not have a quorum of the finance committee for Monday at town meeting. Carter, can you pass that along to the moderator for me, please? Thank you. Okay, anything else? All right, entertain a motion to adjourn.
So
There's a second? Thank you. All by roll call. Barry,
Aye.
Sue,
Aye.
Irene,
Aye.
Heather,
Aye.
Dan,
Aye.
Andy,
Aye.
Eric.
Aye.
Mark, aye. Thanks, everybody. Great meeting. Good night, Carter. Thank you. Thank you, Paul.